Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Hi, everyone. Some silence. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tulo Mulifi, and this is Mogutle Mchali, and we'll be your program directors for the night. And we'd like to welcome you all to Gala Evening Dinner and Awards Dinner for the Pan-African Research Institute Inaugural International Cancer Meeting. Start off, we'll just get off some protocol to start off the evening and greet all our distinguished guests. We'd like to recognize all our international speakers who are joining us today in person and virtually. Starting with Dr. Stephen Reed, the CEO of HTD Bio, Incorporated in Seattle, from Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, with whom a partnership is in progress, Professor Oliver Sato, Dean of Oncology, and staff members, Dr. Lisa Lidet, Professor Susanna Savkovic, and Professor Victor Belancio. Professor Melissa Davids from Cornell Medicine, Dr. Kim Blenman from Yale Cancer Center, Professor Olivia Lamento from Weill Cornell Medicine England Institute for Precision Medicine, Dr. Nicholas Robin from New York Genome Center, Prof. Chindo Hicks, Louisiana State University, New Orleans, Professor David Bates from University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom, Professor Kevin Kasten from University of Nottingham as well, Professor Padma Sheila Jairaman from University of Nottingham, Professor Andreas Kaufmann Charite from Universität Medizin Berlin, Germany, Professor Gottfried Gretsch from University of Malta in Malta, Professor Aristotelis Cheziono from the Biomedical Research Foundation of the Academy of Athens, Professor Ro Reis from University of Mano Braga, Portugal, Dr. Giorgio Lawless from University of Athens, Greece, Professor Ravi Merota from the Center of Health Innovation and Policy Foundation in India, Professor Rupert Ecker from Tissue Gnostics, Austria, Professor Jostna Batra from Queensland University of Technology and Australian Prostate Cancer Research Center, Professor Solomon Rotimi from the Covenant University of Nigeria. You're all welcome. To start us off, we'll be viewing the ribbon cutting ceremony that occurred yesterday at our newly opened and research center at our campus at the University of Pretoria. Thank you. To the video, please.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Zama, aka Dr. Z. Just a few house rules before we kick start. The restrooms are on your far right. If you exit the auditorium on your right, you should be able to see them there. And then secondly, we have a cash bar at the back that is provided for us. So I do want to take this opportunity to thank the Pakrinian family and the visionary Professor Zoda for affording me this opportunity to be co-directing with Dr. Molefe this anonymous evening. And first up for our speaker is the visionary herself, Professor Zoda Dlamini, who is the founding director and executive head of the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute. And she has a vision to push boundaries of precision of oncology, cancer prevention and control, and bringing new approaches for novel therapeutic agents to improve health outcomes, reduce health inequalities, strengthen health systems in an undeserved and socio-economically disadvantaged community. How many of you can acknowledge that that is a huge vision, and it takes a big woman to be able to execute that? And this evening we just want to acknowledge and honor her and appreciate her for this big size vision that she's been able to birth. And I'd like us to honor her by standing on our feet, if you wouldn't mind, and just give her a huge round of applause as she gives us the reason why we are gathered here this evening.
Thank you, program directors, for the kind introduction. Professor Kupe, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Pretoria. I'm very honored that you are here. All the esteemed guests from within the university, outside the university, and all our international visitors. Thank you for coming, and all protocol observed. Today I thought people have got bored of cancer research, but I thought let me just give you a brief overview for those who are not in the cancer space. So why actually do we even start to talk so much about cancer? Because cancer rates are increasing worldwide, and it's now the second leading cause of death globally. That is after heart disease, not infectious diseases, with approximately 70% of cancer deaths occurring in low and middle income countries. It is also emerging as a public health problem in the sub-Saharan Africa. So a little bit of statistics. On that graph, it's a representative of low middle income countries. That is the incident rate. On your left, you have incident rate, and on the right is the mortality rate. You just look at it carefully, and we go to the next one, which is the high-income countries. If you look on the right side, you'll see that the mortality rate is much lower than in the low middle income countries. These are other just graphs to illustrate that we have in the high income country, that is the graph, the bar below, you have a whole lot high incidence, but the death rate is much more contracted. But where we have low incidence in low middle income countries, we still have the same, death rate. But having said that, because we're not sure in Africa, because of our real numbers. Some of the people, they die without being even diagnosed in the rural areas. So it's just relative, but just is to just put you into perspective. So the incidents, if you see that graph, in the incidents in high-income countries, you can see at the top of the map on the left, which is the US, the darkness means high incident rate, and also on the far right, Australia and somewhere in England and Europe. So, but now, when we come to now mortality rate, the darker parts come to the low middle income countries. You can see in Africa on the left horn and down, and also, so which means we really have a problem in Africa. Although, according to the numbers we have, the mortality rate is still very high, although we, in the high income country, we have cancer rates that are higher than us. So let's talk about also health inequities, disparities, which also exist in high income countries. So if there were not, even those bars on the left for mortality rate, they would be even much more narrower. But there are health disparities or inequities that exist also in high-income countries, so they don't get the same level of care. Also, few, if any, blacks or minorities are included in clinical trials. I've been talking to even our counterparts in the US, and they would say even blacks here, most of them don't participate, or they don't get that opportunity, or there's some other reason. There is not enough education, especially in person. You want a person who comes near you, and not on radio you can listen, but it's much more better if you hear from a person, especially who's from your area, not who's coming from somewhere. So there is lack of trust. For instance, because of the Tuskegee trial, if you want to know more, you just have to go and Google, because I wouldn't have more time to explain that. So communities prefer taking advice from their members rather than strangers or from their communities. In the low-income countries, there are also challenges. There is lack of awareness, education programs, also culture. For instance, with prostate cancer, in the rural area where I come from, the nurses are only women, and black men, they don't want to be touched by a woman, so that's also a problem. Lack of screening problems exist, so there is no early detection, so there is lack of involvement in clinical trials, so that is a serious problem. So precise or targeted therapy here is only a dream. So because also of our genetic diversity, we really need to have precision medicines and advancement in Africa as a whole. So how do we deal with this? So we have to look at a global strategy to fight cancer. I can tell you now, as Africans, we can't just fight cancer all of a sudden and have all the expertise. So we have to understand the cancer in the context of the African human genome, because at the moment we're underrepresented, if at all represented, in the genome. So that will now help us to create precision diagnostic tools within our context, within our African context. So that will be now really transforming the cancer narrative. So, but the skills or expertise still are concentrated in the high-income countries, also funding and big pharma, which have funds for clinical trials. But what is very good and really heartwarming is that the high-income countries are very much interested in working with the low-middle-income countries, including us. That's why we have so many of them, both who were presenting virtually, and most of them are here. So capacity can be built. They are here to be able to build capacity here, not to ship the samples to all over the world. They have to come here and build capacity, which they're willing to do, and so that we are able to appropriately collaborate or partner. So that is why African scientists are supposed to be more involved. But that is why, to be more involved, you need some sort of capacity building. So what is it about partnerships and PACRI? We are partnering for skills. We are for defeating cancer together. So to implement the global strategy of defeating cancer. So also to try and deal with the health disparities or inequities. So, and also build our genetic database in Africa so that we have a reference point, which is the African Cancer Genome Atlas. So I'm now appealing to companies to please fund the next generation sequencing because it's very expensive. The university have built the state-of-the-art laboratories. You didn't see much here, but they've done a lot, and thank you to the Vice Chancellor and the whole IC. Karen also, I know is our faculty manager. So thank you very much, but now that they can see that there's a place, I've been even showing the DG for Science and Innovation yesterday that you see there, the equipment is empty, it's needed. So we are appealing for funding from those who have big pockets. So we have a team now. In PACRI, we've built a team of international experts in cutting. We have a team of international experts in cutting edge cancer research. So they provide us, the PACRInian, with scientific advice, and most they co-supervise postgraduate projects and other projects, and we're going to also move forward and add more projects. They provide cutting edge expertise, which is limited in Africa, in South Africa. And they are constantly available, even on email. So they are very nice men and women or scientists. So feel free to contact them. If you didn't get to talk to them, talk to Demi. She's got all the emails. So PACRI is premised on close collaboration between clinicians and basic scientists. PACRI has expanded. It started just as University of Pretoria. We've actually now have partners or satellites at VETS, people we work with, University of KwaZulu-Natal, and now we've recently also partnering with UCT. But on top of that, we also have universities like University of Limpopo. We have a lot of them. They've presented. So we have also Sifako Makhado, Health Science University. We have Walter Sisulu. I saw one person who came. We also, yes, he is raising the hand. So we have University of Johannesburg. We have University of South Africa. I cannot. PACRI is very famous. I can tell you that. And I can tell you that in South Africa, as I know it, I've never seen so much collaboration between clinicians and basic scientists. So we have 3 macro areas: the clinical cancer research, the translational cancer research, and the population and prevention cancer research. So I'm not going to go into details. You have the strategy in your, when you registered, it's in your bags. So we have PACRI International Scientific Advisory Committee, very useful. Most of them are PACRI or University of Pretoria extraordinary professor. We've started to make some progress now of having 4 main international working committees. We've started with the colorectal cancer international working groups, and now we are gonna add the 3, because these are the top 4 cancers according to what our clinicians see, the oncologists see. So we are actually partnering for success to transform the cancer narrative, first in Africa and then in the world, because it's going to have an impact as well. So we are partnering for joint fundraising as well, because there is funding where you can apply with the UK PIs from this side. So all these are, and also the US and EU, everywhere, it becomes easier to get bigger funding. So I've already said which institutions we're collaborating with. Also the industry, we have local industries now we are collaborating with, because it's important for us. And also international, we are signing one partnership agreement just today. We are hoping that we'll build the African Cancer Genome Atlas when we have the sequencing, and we are also will be working together with India, because they have already started, so it will be easier for us. So Professor Ravi Merorta is going to be helping us, one of our extraordinary professors who's here as well, so that we can be able to advance precise or targeted oncology. So I was just wanting to show you that this conference actually is about exploiting global networks for the fight against cancer in Africa, and advancing prevention and transforming care. That is it's all about. So these are our partners. They came in short notice, because I think this was just planned in 3 months. Even on Christmas Day, I remember I would say, Demi, there's a Prof, it's Christmas Day. So all of these partners, and we're going to have more, and it's like we are expanding. I saw our partners were displaying here, and they were saying the space is becoming smaller for the display, which means we have to look for bigger venues in the ICC in Cape Town next year. Thank you very much.
Could we please all just give Prof. Zotwa a round of applause, please? I think we really need to thank the visionary that she is. Without her, none of us would be here. And our next speaker is the custodian of this building here called Future Africa. I can tell that he's a man who's very passionate about Africa, because he keeps on letting us use this building. And he also is responsible for the building that we now call the PACRI Labs, that we now call a home. For much of the previous years, we were being asked, where's our labs, where are they? Can we provide addresses? And now we can. And thanks to our next speaker, Professor Tawana Kupe, who is the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Pretoria since 2019. He holds a DPhil in Media Studies from the University of Oslo, Norway. In December 2019, he received an honorary doctorate from Michigan State University and another from the University of Montpellier in October 2021. Professor Cooper has recently been appointed as the Knight of the French National Legion honor in recognition of his remarkable achievement in promoting scientific and academic cooperation by the President of the French Republic. He is the founder of the African Centers for Study of the US at both UP and Wits University. Prof. Cooper is an active member of several civil society organizations and is a board member of a number of tertiary education network and organizations globally. Professor Cooper, could you please join us on stage?
Thank you very much, Program Director. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to tell anybody, and I do tell anybody who can listen, that this is one of my favorite places in the university. There's one a kilometer from here as well, called Engineering 4.0. Then there's the Javed UP Art Center with 8 galleries over near my offices. Of course, I have to like my office too, because I got to spend some time there. So a very good evening and a very warm welcome to those who have joined us from near and far, in person and virtually, for this truly international gathering, with our globally representative attendance falling directly in line with our theme of exploiting global networks for the fight against cancer in Africa, advancing prevention and transforming care. It is a great privilege and joy for us to host the greatest minds in cancer science and medicine here in South Africa. And we thank each and every one of our speakers and delegates here today for availing yourself to show your knowledge and expertise and to forge collaborations in the fight against cancer. We recognize the sacrifice in time expended by those who have traveled a great distance to join us physically. It is wonderful to meet you face to face. Last year, a large majority of you attended our event here virtually, if you like. I think from Nottingham University we had one guest, but today the table I'm sitting at could be called the Nottingham table. We are also grateful to welcome our local guests, as together we make strides towards realizing the vision of PACRI. A year ago, almost today, the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute, PACRI as we call it, was launched by the University of Pretoria's Faculty of Health Sciences with a bold vision to transform the fight against cancer in Africa by harnessing the power of transdisciplinary research and strategic collaboration. It dedicated itself to pushing the boundaries of precision oncology, cancer prevention, and to bringing new approaches for early diagnosis and novel therapeutic agents, all with the goal to improve health outcomes, reduce health inequalities, strengthen health systems in underserved and socioeconomically disadvantaged communities. The Institute exemplifies everything we strive towards as a leading African university, and I'm proud to see this unique platform having made such progress towards its vision in a short period of time. Yesterday, I attended another health-related forum, the Kofi Annan Health Leadership Forum. The person who spoke there, the coordinator of it, said it is wrong for me to say as a leading African university. I should say as the leading African university. As you well know, cancer is a dreaded disease that has significant socio-economic impact on society. As Prof. Zodwa, the champion, the founder, said, it is the second leading cause of death globally, with cancer rates continuing to increase worldwide. 70% of cancer deaths okay in low and middle income countries. You saw it on the slide. And cancer is also emerging as a major public health problem in sub-Saharan Africa. Given that the disease has been given a low priority in the research field and in healthcare services across the continent, there is a shortage of epidemiological expertise, research resources, and medical equipment in Africa. And so, the mandate of PACRI is to reduce the future burden and suffering from cancer in Africa and worldwide is more timely than ever. Apologies. When PACRI launched last year, founding director, the champion director, Professor Dlamini, explained that while there are currently pockets of excellent cancer research in South Africa and the sub-Saharan African region, in many instances, cancer researchers are working in silos. And so PACRI capitalized on the opportunity to form multidisciplinary teams working under specific themes. This knowledge sharing has the effect of strengthening outcomes significantly, allowing physicians to allocate research expertise more effectively, as well as identify multiple researchers who may be able to contribute to the understanding of precision oncology. In line with PACRI's slogan, defeating cancer together, collaboration is at the very core and essential for success. It also is in alignment with the University of Pretoria's vision to be the African Global University, a university that collaborates locally, as in South Africa, we're a South African university, but collaborates on the continent, our region, but is globally engaged, connected, interacting, and partnering. Synergies with existing programs is critical in order to strengthen the efforts of resource mobilization and targeted capacity building, strengthening existing relationships, forging new partnerships, just this with scientists, clinicians, and other healthcare professionals, survivors, patients, and advocates from Africa and all over the world, gathered here to share the latest advances and share knowledge from population and prevention science to cancer biology, translational and clinical studies, to survivors and advocacy. This is an excellent opportunity to network and build relationships, given the principle that while problems may be too sizable to deal with individually, when tackled collectively and through partnerships, which pool expertise and resources and foster learning, tangible results become achievable. Importantly, we also have the occasion to highlight the science of cancer health disparities and how diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts can change the cancer narrative. As a university, we've very much embraced our continental identity and are passionate about Africa's unbelievable richness of its people, natural resources, cultures, biodiversity, and environments, and its potential to thrive as a knowledge economy that relies on itself, of course, working with partners for solutions to its challenges. This is because Africa's population of more than 1.3 billion today will double by the middle of this century, potentially rising to 4 billion people by 21,000, or around 1/3 of the world's population. It is also the youngest population, so there is a unique opportunity to upskill a generation that can tackle the world's complex problems, apart from Africa's own needs. And some of the young generation is sitting behind me, and some is sitting within the audience. Contribute high-quality human resources to those regions of the world with an aging population. Of course, there are considerable obstacles to be overcome in order to unlock the potential of Africa. But I'm thankful that the emergence of transdisciplinary research methods and modalities has offered unique opportunities for universities to take the lead in creating new knowledge and new ways of doing things. And I'm thrilled at how PACRI is a living example of this possibility. and this not just this possibility, but this very powerful possibility. We anticipate great things from this international meeting, where South African and African young scientists and clinicians can share a stage and connect with world-renowned cancer researchers. And we look forward to its outcomes with improved health for people, both now and in generations to come. I have another 5 pages to go, but I suspect that you might not listen so attentively after the next page. Because you see, I went to a course, a prestigious course that accepted very few people around the world in Cuba. It was run by Professor Fidel Castro. He's late now. And the first principle of the course was, speak for as long as you want. It does not matter what you say. Thank you and welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Coupe. We know that it's un-African, you know, when someone is giving you a hand and you take the whole arm. So, but I think, you know, I'll just change it a bit and we'll think of you as our father. Now that you've given us a home there at Prince of Campus, could we please have toys? There are sequencers and all sorts of things. So, whenever you're ready. Okay, next up, we'll have the signing of the partnership agreement between PACRI and HDD Bio. Could we have up on the stage Professor Stephen Reed from HDD Bio USA, Professor Coupe, Professor Maharaj, and Professor Dlamini. You could just direct them.
I can't see them from this side. It's not even focusing. What is this? Oh, there we are. What are these for?
Yeah.
Is it because we're recording?
No. I don't know why it's got that red.
Even that side?
Yeah.
No, we can't see from this side.
Is this on? There it is. Thank you. In the spirit of Fidel Castro, I just want to say a few words because most of you, especially the people that weren't at the meeting, don't really know what we do at HTT and why we're here and why it matters that we signed something today with PACRI. The last time I was in South Africa was for BioAfrica, the second one. It was in Durban right before COVID. And that was announcement and launch of Afrigen Biologics, which I founded previously. That's in Cape Town. I believe in doing translational work and then bringing that work to Africa. So Afrigen was founded based on making TB vaccines locally. COVID happened, so now Afrigen's making COVID vaccines locally. But I'm proud to say it's still going on. HTT, as you see in the logo, and please eat, I'll just speak up. Immune therapy for all. We know that people can die of cancer because they're poor, and in my country, people become poor because they're treated with cancer. The therapies are too expensive, but in the last 10 or 15 years, we've learned a lot about immune responses to cancer and that T-cell therapies can be very effective, but those treatments are still very expensive. Our goal is to make them less expensive. And we have global teams. In this picture, we've got Brazil. It's our global CIMATEC group in northern Brazil. They have a lot of the same issues as you do. It's basically an African city, Salvador. But we've built up wonderful clinical development and manufacturing development over the last 4 decades there. And this picture also shows our Korean collaborators. So we're very passionate about sharing technology, and we're focusing on the RNA vaccine platform to do that. I talked about this a little bit, but I just want to show people what can we do. I think the issue that I was asked to address is what can we do? You know, why are you here? What can you do for us? What can you do for PACRI? What kind of technology can you bring? And I talked about the RNA platform in my talk here, and it consists of 2 different vials, as you see right here. One with the carrier and one with the RNA. The RNA, to make enough vaccines for COVID, can be done in this room. The technology has enabled us to do tech transfer. Some of the rooms I saw yesterday over there, we can make millions of doses in a very small space. So all we need is to have a DNA plasmid, and we bring here the ability to make RNA rapidly. Initially, we'll ship it over, and you mix the 2 together and start clinical studies. That's the idea. But eventually, you can make them yourselves. And the beauty of RNA is you can make anything you want. You can mix several different tumor antigens. You can mix 5 or 6 if it's melanoma, for example, or 5 or 6 if it's breast cancer. So that's the idea. And with Zodwa's vision of getting this next generation sequencing, that's critical because your populations are going to have unique genetic diversity that we need to address by making the RNAs that are complementing those diversities. I just want to show one thing. Sorry, it's scientific and geeky, but it's a reason why we believe so much in the RNA platform. This antigen we call prostine. I actually named it when I discovered it back 20 years ago. But we licensed this to GSK, a big pharma company, but they could never make the protein. And you don't have to worry about the gels and any of that. But the point is, we tried for 1 year. It's got 11 transmembrane domains. I don't believe it'll ever be possible to make this with the current technologies, but RNA made it within a few weeks. So we partnered this with the National Cancer Institute in the United States. They have a big program in global health. They're very interested in prostate cancer, men of African origin. You know that there's a big sequencing effort going on in Cape Town. And this is one of the proteins that we could never have used for immunotherapy until now. Until now, it was possible to make it as a nucleic acid. And we know that DNA vaccines can break tolerance by activating the immune response. It's been shown for years, but DNA has its own issues in terms of cost and ability to combine many, many antigens. But it still works, and maybe that's another thing we look at. But the main thing you have to do is to be able to formulate it to reduce the cost, to make it more practical, and that's what our formulation does. So this is just a cartoon I put together for investors a few years ago. It's actually a dream, a vision about a patient comes in, a little blood is taken or a tumor biopsy is taken, in the case of here, and we look at the sequences. Most tumors are sequenced, they should be, and then that sequence information can be turned over to the RNA facility. It can be in one of the rooms that you're going to be making over there in the center. And then the formulation is already available in your refrigerator. All you have to do is make that RNA, combine it with formulation, and start treating that patient. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. But there's been spectacular results when it does work with neoantigens. Most of the time they don't work because they're not very strong antigens, but with RNA, I'm sure we can improve the success rate. One more thing I just want to show you. It's about another RNA technology that I'm going to bring here. It uses the same type of formulation. Remember, RNA is not stable, so we have to protect it. And in this case, it's an anti-tumor reagent. At my last company, Immune Design, we actually injected lymphoma, in the tumor in the lymph node, and treated that particular tumor locally, but also created an immune response that disseminated all around the body. So you turn the tumor into its own vaccine. It sounds spectacular, it sounds crazy, but there's a lot of publications on this, and we actually did it with the NCI and have several people in complete remission. So you don't always have to know what the sequence is. If you have something like this, it can activate the tumor, or you can use them both together. And the main advantage is these are cheap technologies. They're relatively cheap. You make some RNA, so what is that? You know, a few dollars. I just got a quote yesterday for a Brazilian collaborator. They wanted me to give them 33 million doses a year for 5 years. And the quote comes into about $1.70 a dose. It's going to get down even cheaper if it's done locally. So I want to bring, I'll shut up now, but I want to bring these things, you know that I mean it because we'd already did it in Cape Town for our adjuvant technology. We want to bring technologies to PACRI, and almost as important or more important, to bring collaborators that we have. The National Cancer Institute is one of the main ones, and they're very passionate about global health as well. There's a lot of money behind the National Cancer Institute in their internal and extramural activities. And so once clinical capacity is in place here, there will be a lot of opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for those powerful words. Next up in our program, we have Professor David Bates from University of Nottingham, who will address us on the future of partnership between the UN cancer scientists and the PACRI. Could you please give a round of applause for Prof. David?
Thank you very much. As ever, it's a pleasure to be here. I always enjoy coming to Pretoria and visiting my friends, as well as my who are now colleagues, or colleagues who are now friends, one of the two. For some time, we've been working with the University of Pretoria and with Zodwa, even before she moved here, to try and build a collaborative nature between two different universities, and I'm delighted that we'll be having a visit from the Vice-Chancellor at University of Pretoria to Nottingham in April. Do we have my slides? The University of Nottingham is one of the largest universities in the UK. It actually has more students than any other university that teaches face-to-face in the UK. It's over 55,000 students, but it's over 3 campuses, one in Malaysia, one in China, and 35,000 students in the UK. Do I have my slides? Demi? You got my slides? No? The University of Nottingham is known not just for Robin Hood, which Nottingham was obviously famous for, but also for the invention of a few useful technologies. One is magnetic resonance imaging. MRI was developed at the University of Nottingham by Sir Peter Mansfield. And also the world's most widely used drug was developed at Nottingham, which is ibuprofen, which is developed at the Boots Laboratories and just down the road on what is currently the School of Pharmacy site. We also have a number of other inventions that came out of Nottingham that were world leading and world changing. The University of Nottingham has 5 faculties. It has a Faculty of Medicine, Faculty of Science, Faculty of Arts, Social Science and Engineering. And cancer research is done in all 5 of those faculties. We have members of the Cancer Centre that are in social science, that are in arts and linguistics, in engineering, and obviously in medicine and in science. And that breadth of cancer research has translated over the last 6 years to a vision for cancer research that we started developing in 10 years, in 2014. And that vision was to bring together cancer researchers across the university to build a community of people who would be able to not only work within the university but also collaborate across other universities, and to act as a training hub for the next generation of cancer scientists who are going to find cures for cancer, or going to find ways of stopping cancer, or going to find ways of identifying cancer earlier so that it can be treated. And we've done that by setting up a number of different programs. One was a training program for PhD students, one was an academic training program for medics. And we built on our existing MSc courses in oncology, cancer immunology and biotechnology, and in stem cells. But about 4 years ago, we started a completely new initiative which is unique across the world. And that is to take high school students out of the school, and when they come to university as undergraduates, bring them into a cancer sciences degree. So they do an undergraduate degree in cancer sciences. And it's a degree that covers all the concepts of biomedical science, so it covers immunology, physiology, pharmacology, genetics, cell biology, but linked to cancer. But it also covers more than that. It doesn't just cover the cell biology, it covers the critical problems with cancer, including the issues with global cancer, what causes cancer, how to prevent cancer, what the epidemiology of cancer is, and so on. And our students, our first cohort of students graduated this year, in 2022. And that cohort of students have gone out into medicine, into the biotech industry, into the pharmaceutical industry, into the finance industry, working on developing new ways of funding cancer research, new ways of changing policy in cancer research, and new ways of doing cancer research. And Zodwa and I have talked for a long time about how we can enhance training and capability of cancer in Africa, and is there anything that we could do in Nottingham to help? One of the things that we've done is been very active in developing spin-out companies in the cancer field, and how can we help that work out in Africa, and African-specific solutions to African problems in cancer. OnCommune is a cancer company that we developed, that we spun out of the University of Nottingham, that does early detection of cancer from a blood test using autoantibodies. And it has 3 products on the market, one for lung cancer, liver cancer, and one for lung cancer, liver cancer, and I've forgotten the other one. Scancell is a cancer vaccine company. As Stephen was talking about, cancer vaccines could be used not just for prevention of cancer, but also for treatment of cancer. And Scancell has a number of products in clinical trial for melanoma and other cancers, and lung cancers and so on. And in fact, very recently, it was able to announce the outcome of a COVID vaccine that it tested in South Africa at the University of Cape Town, and showed that Scancell's technology, which is a needle-free technology, was able to induce strong T-cell responses in patients with when they're exposed to COVID. We've also developed some of the spin-out companies I talked about earlier, and this is one that I'm really pleased to talk about. Performs. Performs is a local spin-out which is now operating globally. which essentially trains radiologists and nurses in being able to identify tumors from mammograms, CT scans, and MRIs, so that we don't need pathologists or radiologists, qualified medics to do this. It can be done by nurses more accurately than it can be done by radiologists. And this increases the capacity for screening mammograms, for screening CT scans across the world. And Performs is now operating in 22 different countries worldwide. We had a roadmap just as Zodwa did. In fact, Zodwa's roadmap was co-developed, I think it's fair to say. That we were going to go from a university which had disparate cancer researchers all the way through to an experimental cancer center, as a comprehensive cancer research center. And we're still on that track. We were delighted this year to be able, 2022, to be able to open our clinical trials unit in Nottingham, being able to undertake phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 clinical trials in cancer. We have a new Tessagel brain cancer center, a new ovarian cancer center, and a cholangiocarcinoma UK center that we're hoping to kick off very soon. We haven't yet reached the point of an experimental cancer medicine center, but we're getting there. And this has taken 10 years, but it needed a vision to get there. And all I can say is that having the vision is more important than anything else. Without a vision, you'll never get there. And that's one of the reasons why it's been great to support Zodwa on her journey and learn from her, from where they've been going. The consequence is the opening of a new cancer research building. So the Biodiscovery Institute Building 3, which is shown here, is the home to 50 cancer research labs. It's 5 stories, 7,000 square meters. We moved in December 2019, got all the cancer cells up and running. By the middle of February, we're about to kick off all the experiments were starting, and then we shut for 2 years, which was a little annoying. We're now back up and running again and starting to cook on gas. We have collaborations nationally and internationally, both with biotech companies, pharmaceutical companies, and the UK and academic universities, including collaborations in South Africa. Some of the examples of collaborations with PACRI, this handsome gentleman here is Chipizo Makavolo, who worked out in the labs out in Nottingham for a year. Mzwandile, Zukile, Rahaba, and Poncho have all been involved in collaborations, and we have a number of joint publications, one of which is weirdly highly cited. The multinational review has been cited almost 100 times in the last 12 months. We have a lot of academics working on cancer at the University of Nottingham. This is just within the cancer centre itself. It does not include the wider cancer groups that are outside in sociology and engineering and physics and so on. And we are looking for collaborations across all of these different areas, whether it's in colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, multiple different areas. So please come and talk to us if you want to work with us on collaborations. We're always looking to try and support collaborations across the world. I talked a little bit about while I was waiting for the slides about our undergraduate degrees and about our training in terms of MScs, BScs, PhDs, and we'd love to be able to develop that collaboration with the University of Pretoria as it goes through its development of PACRI. The undergraduate course is a fascinating course, and I hope you'll get a chance to maybe look at the slides at some point later on and see what we do. The students love it. It's a completely new degree. No one's done it before. It was a big challenge for the university to make that decision to start a new degree which you couldn't benchmark against, but I think it's been an unqualified success. We also have final year MSc students who come through those 3 years and then go out and do placements outside Nottingham. They could come out to South Africa, and in fact one of our students last year did actually come out and work at the University of Limpopo for the summer in Zukile's lab. We're looking for new collaborations, particularly in areas of early detection of breast cancer, colorectal cancer molecular pathology, ex vivo pharmacology, and alternative splicing. But many of the other areas as well we'd invite you to come and talk to. And currently we have joint initiatives in terms of research fellowships, student exchange. This is Isabella, who came out to work with Zukile's lab in the summer. This is an undergraduate student who came and spent 4 weeks working in a lab in South Africa. We intend to try and do that again this year with one of our undergraduates. We have an MSc in oncology, which Andrew Jackson has been working with Zodwa in terms of trying to prepare an MSc plan for the University of Pretoria. We're looking at doing dual PhDs, and maybe in the future, when Africa needs its own cancer researchers to be trained, maybe in the future you might be able to offer a cancer sciences BSc as well. Thank you very much for your attention tonight, and thank you very much for hosting me, and it's been a pleasure. Please come and talk to me afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that insightful talk. It's been said that one is too small a number to achieve any sizable or significant thing, and we've seen that with Professor Zodwa. Next up, we are going to be casting our eyes on the screens as we look at the new book that has been conceived through the efforts of collaboration from different expertise, from different clinical spheres. This book is called Artificial Intelligence and Precision Oncology, Bridging Cancer Research and Clinical Decision Support by Spring. It is now available, and it is a book that highlights the use of artificial intelligence and the big data and precision oncology for medical decision making in cancer screening, diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment. The book is divided into 3 parts. The first section speaks into the screening, diagnosis, and monitoring of the precision oncology, and the second part speaks into the artificial intelligence and omics in precision oncology, highlighting the use of artificial intelligence and epigenetics, metabolomics, microbiomics in precision oncology. The last part, the third part, covers the artificial intelligence in cancer therapy and its clinical applications. So we want to just bring to your awareness this amazing book that was written not so long ago, had a privilege of being part of this exciting journey, and what a speed it was to have to write this. But we are doing very well in terms of the time. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. You're not making noise while you're eating, which is amazing, something that in Africa we're not used to. So thank you so much for that. We should be finishing very soon. So I'm going to give this opportunity to Dr. Molefe, who's going to be reading a speech for us. Got us some encourage.
Okay. So a lot of people want to show us some support and unfortunately could not be here today. So the CEO of Cancer was unable to join us tonight, but she sent us a nice letter, which I'll be reading now. This is from Ms. Elise Jubet, and she would like to say, I'm pleased to share a message of support from the Cancer Association of South Africa. In 2021, we celebrated 90 years of continuous research, education, and support to all affected by cancer in South Africa. And we've always had it as a mission priority to support cancer research. Cancer is one of the only non-profit organizations conducting cancer research in South Africa to date. We have a proud portfolio of research over the last 20 years, and during that time, Cancer was one of the largest local funders of research. We recognize that to survive in the current challenging climate, we need strong partnerships that will help us to reach our mission and objectives. We are delighted to have an official MOA with PACRI to work together with a multidisciplinary approach to address the national and international cancer research priorities. You have our full support representing civil society and thousands of people affected by cancer. Together we can contribute significantly to research required to provide the latest evidence on cancer surveillance, prevention, screening, diagnosis, and treatment to inform our policies, cancer prevention and control plans, and resource allocation to tackle this disease. Long-term collaboration research efforts are needed to eliminate duplication and to coordinate optimum investment of resources. Cancer research requires a national strategy to an integrated, multidisciplinary, focused approach to combat this disease. And it is in this regard that I challenge the PACRI to take up a leading role in Africa for cancer research. Together, the biggest breakthroughs and world-class projects can happen through our shared values and partnership, and especially in the fields of oncology and service to cancer patients. We look forward to defeating cancer together. And that's from Ms. Elise Rupert from the Cancer Association of South Africa.
Just a quick acknowledgement of the lead authors of the Artificial Intelligence book, Dr. Rahaba Marima, Professor Luvengo, Professor Lisija Motadi, Ms. Dimitri Demotreu, Dr. Rodney Hall, Dr. Langanani Mbodi, Dr. Skumbuzo Mbata, Dr. Amanda Skepu, Professor Ahmed Bayat, Ms. Botle Damane, Dr. Tulo Mulefi, Professor Mishek Bida, and Dr. Richard Kanyile. Can you please give them a round of applause? Thank you. Our next speaker is Butana Mboniswa, who is the director of Inqaba Biotechnical Industry. He's going to be addressing us on the importance of collaboration with industry, what the future holds for Inqaba Biotech and PACRI partnership. Can you please welcome him with a hand clap? Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here again. Only 12 months ago, we met last year, we meet again as an organization in Inqaba Biotech. Last year we were celebrating our 20th anniversary as a biotechnology company. We do a lot of sequencing as a private company. We have a great interest in collaborating with PACRI. Professor Dlamini knows that we would like to put all the toys in the new building. So and it comes at a very high price tag. So it's good that the principal is here as well. Those are some of the discussions that we hope now that the building is completed, everything is concluded, we can begin to talk about how do we put the toys in there and how does the university come on board and how do we as a private company also collaborate for the benefit of cancer in this country. So at least for tonight, all that we wanted to do from our side as a company is to congratulate Professor Zodwa and the team for the milestone that has been reached. We hope when we meet again in 12 months' time, our story will be different. Dr. Tulo was talking about the toys. Hopefully by then, there'll be enough toys in there. There'll be critical research that is being done, addressing the issues that were spoken of about neglected African cancers, if I may call them that way. But for tonight, I'm going to be very brief. Thank you very much, Professor Dlamini, and congratulations to your team. Good evening.
Thank you for that, for those words of support. And I don't know if you're inviting us. While we're waiting for our toys, we'll be using yours. Next up to speak is Robert Applebaum. He's a senior partner at Weber Wensel. Please run stage.
Good evening. I apologize for the errors in my CV, which were found in your printed programs handed to you. My corrected CV is now online. I awoke this morning to discover a good friend of mine had passed last evening after a short fight with cancer. So I dedicate this to Bob Nichols. The program for this evening includes an array of healthcare specialists and researchers and other esteemed guests. And then you have me, the token lawyer. Before you get out your pitchforks, let me explain what I'm doing here. I'm not here to lecture you on the latest innovations in medical research, although it would be tempting since I'm a Jewish hypochondriac. I can't tell you how to work the equipment in your new beautiful Pakri laboratory, and I'm not even here to offer you legal advice. Although, of course, we lawyers seldom turn down new business. You can find me at the front table. I am, however, here to offer a message of support to Pakri and to all of you who are working alongside Pakri to push the boundaries of cancer research in Africa. The work of Pakri and of many of you here tonight is at the forefront of addressing the tragedy that is the inequitable access of people in Africa to healthcare, and more particularly, the cancer crisis in Africa. Healthcare is one of my greatest passions. It is an area I've been drawn to over and over in my legal career. I've worked with actors in almost every part of the healthcare system, from representing pharmaceutical companies, both originators and generics, device manufacturers, health insurers, hospital groups, healthcare practitioners, governments, and NGOs. Early in my career, as someone who'd always dreamed of becoming a medical practitioner, I was drawn to the medical innovation and the excitement created around pharmaceutical companies and innovative and life-changing medicines. As I move towards the end of my career, my mission has become the democratization of healthcare, in particular, expanding access to care and research to all. Perhaps the best support I can offer you tonight are some of the insights I've gained over my 4 decades in law, and in many spaces I've traversed in the healthcare world that could be helpful in your fight against cancer in Africa, which we all know is a different fight from the fight against cancer in the developed world. I think I provide evidence that working in the healthcare sector in Africa is not a helpless endeavor. So much meaningful and impactful work can and is being done on the continent. First, as many of you will have experienced, ambitious boundary-breaking healthcare projects usually encounter regulatory hurdles, be they institutional or legal. Having spent much of my career finding loopholes around unnecessary regulatory blockages, I've noticed that, generally speaking, the default setting of pharmaceutical companies when they encounter a hurdle is to find a way around it. It is, however, rather ironic that often those focused on healthcare equity rather than profits seem less likely to doggedly pursue loopholes. In my experience, there's almost always a creative workaround. So, for instance, in 1993, and despite many legal and regulatory hurdles, I helped create and was a director of International Healthcare Distributors, now DSV, eventually consisting of 14 pharmaceutical companies. This was created to reduce the costs of medicines by cutting out the middlemen in the medicine logistics chain. And in 2010, I helped create and operate International Cancer Care Foundation, now the Access to Innovative Care Foundation, to get around prescriptive, inequitable laws banning donations and discounting of life-saving oncology medication to private patients, no matter how dire their circumstances. So again, in most cases, there's a creative solution to regulatory blockages wherever they may be found. And of course, if you can't find the loophole, you can find the lawyer. Second, you will have determined that mistrust is rife in healthcare between pharmaceutical companies, governments, the regulators, civil society, academia, and other stakeholders. There's sound historical reason for some of the mistrust, but mistrust frequently impinges our ability to get work done and to democratize healthcare. I've seen several ways in which mistrust plays out. The first, on occasions, too many to mention, a potentially brilliant idea does not get off the ground because people are dissuaded from even approaching those on the other side of the line. The second is, as I witnessed to and was party to during the HIV and AIDS crisis of the 1980s and 90s, that even when actors come together to agree on a goal, they're so invested in fighting with one another that they sabotage the goals and the greater good. So my thesis in that is that countless lives were lost due to politicking and petty point scoring by protagonists rather than by joint problem solving and collaboration. The third and most uplifting way I've seen mistrust play out was during the COVID-19 pandemic, when I witnessed the public and private sectors in South Africa choose to put their decades of mistrust aside and collaborate on the manufacture of ventilators, importation and distribution of vaccines, and other necessary interventions. In this regard, I led a team of lawyers who represented the private sector and civil society to deal with the pandemic and its legal fallout. All of this was done with passion and on a pro bono basis. Soon thereafter, we were approached by the National Department of Health to assist in relation to the importation and distribution of vaccines, which we happily did, and where we continue to assist, all again with passion and on a pro bono basis. Not only were these collaborations hugely successful during the pandemic, but the greater trust has positively transformed the relationship between government and private players in healthcare. More recently, I facilitated discussions between NHI and one of South Africa's largest hospital groups about how to mobilize the excess capacity in private facilities to help patients in the public sector. This same group donated several cath labs to one of our major public hospitals, which was partially destroyed by fire. This speaks to collaboration and not mistrust. Finally, I've learned that collaborations such as those are essential. The battle to democratize healthcare globally and to fight cancer in Africa cannot be fought alone. Allies are vital, be they government, civil society, private sector, or academia. I've recently been fortunate enough to work with another son of Africa, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, and his Immunity Bio and Nant Bio, where he's bringing home to Africa access to some of his life-enhancing oncology products by setting up state-of-the-art cancer trial centers in South Africa and Botswana. Here they'll be trialing the adaptive cell therapy programs, utilizing 2 natural killer cell varieties, including an off-the-shelf NK92, as well as an individualized patient-specific killer cell. They will also bring a new biological agent, N803, which is a first-in-class immune agent which stimulates natural killer cell proliferation in the body to augment the immune systems against cancer. Moreover, and bringing this much closer to home, Immunity Bio and Nant Bio will be collaborating with the University of Pretoria's Department of Nuclear Medicine to develop new and innovative treatments to fight cancer. This again has reminded me of how vital it is that interested actors work together in fighting cancer in Africa. Since working with Patrick Soon-Shiong, I've had the very real pleasure of dealing with many exceptional African oncologists and researchers in the oncology and infectious disease area. It was great to discover that much of the research and work being undertaken in Africa is as good as that being undertaken elsewhere in the world. So bravo to all of you. And of course, we are here tonight, not only to bring together exceptional minds and to celebrate the phenomenal institute that PACRI is, but also to create and to celebrate the collaborations, partnerships, and friendships. So thank you to all of you for the extraordinary work you're doing in your mission to fight cancer in Africa. I offer you my ongoing support when you're confronted by hurdles and you're in need of strategic or creative legal thinking. Thank you.
Thanks for those words of support, Robert. And I hope everyone else who's been promising us things know what Weber Wensel is. So please don't make empty promises. And we look forward to having hurdles. Robert, please. So our next speaker is Prof. Livengo, from the University of the Witwatersrand, is the head of surgery there. And do we call our ex-collaborators, our collaborators outside also Precunians, or are they ex-Precunians or Precunians in waiting until Prof. Levengo?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, and first to the Vice Chancellor and the Principal, Professor Tawana Kupe, Professor Dlamini, and our international experts and colleagues. Thank you very much. This is really wonderful. I don't even know where to start. I wrote a speech, I wrote it again. But I was reassured by Prof, the Vice Chancellor, to say you can speak as long as you want. So I will do that. So yes, my name is Professor Stephen Lubengo. I come from VETS. I remember it was during the height of COVID when I got a call. It was an email from Professor Dlamini to say, can we meet? I don't even know how she got my details. But I remember it was COVID time, because where we met, we couldn't meet at the hospital because there was no entry. And when I was going back to my car, I'd left my mask. So the police stopped me and said, where is your mask? You can't go anywhere. So that's why I remember. Yeah, and for me, when she presented the vision, I said, aha, Professor Dlamini and the University of Pretoria have gotten it right. Because if you want to excel, we have to do it right in terms of clinical services. There has to be excellence there. And there cannot be excellence if we are not cooperating. And that cooperation is not just between universities, and it also has to be cooperation with government. Perhaps we're the country with the worst relationship between health sciences, university, and government. I don't think we're moving together very well. And this is a platform that actually makes it work. The second thing is on teaching and supervision. And I'm not going to say much because most of the universities are doing very well. The area where when she spoke, I was so excited, was in the area of research. Because there's this damage which was done by universities with faculties of health sciences in this country, that when you are a specialist, you have arrived. On the medical doctors and nurses are not supposed to do research. They say, it's okay, you are a specialist. And it is allowed to say, this person was born, he's just not good at research. When people who end up getting into medicine are supposed to be the cream of the crop, the highest IQ. But when they've now qualified their working, university says, we are going to allow a certain group of people not to focus on research. And being somebody who is in the surgical discipline, I run quite a number of hospitals where the most experienced surgeons are cutting, every day they're cutting out tissues. And these are the same people who have made a diagnosis, they cut tissue, send it to the lab, and they say we can't do research. And we accept it, universities accept it. And for me, I just said, Professor Dlamini, you're going to assist me because I want tomorrow to be better than yesterday. I'm moving out, but the people who worked in my department who are young, at least they must be better than me. And they are not going to be better than me in terms of cutting. They are not going to be better than me in terms of teaching. I said they will be better in research. They will be better in being good people. A surgeon should not be, because it's the definition of a surgeon, arrogance. If you are arrogant and you know what to do, but you can't do a PhD, why should we respect you if you are not publishing? So these are some of the issues that I said, Prof, you're in the right track. I'm going to join you. I'm a very busy person, but I'm going to make sure. And she has Demi, and Demi has got a way of applying pressure. Can I have it next week? 12 o'clock. That chapter that I knew nothing about artificial intelligence, but you can ask me about anything about artificial intelligence, a blockchain technology, a digital twin. We also went through genomics. I now know non-coding RNA, alternate splicing. Okay, so I think that is an investment, but I want that investment to be in the younger people, because, as I said, I want it to be better than yesterday. Tomorrow to be better than yesterday. There's something that perhaps, Prof, you are not aware. I was so amazed. I come from Limpopo, and I had to talk to, when I saw those posters there, I think 70–80% is from University of Limpopo. And I saw those kids. Sorry, I'm calling you kids. Allow me just for today. And perhaps, can I apologize to the people who are running, just to ask the Youth League from Limpopo to stand up. If I'm allowed, that university. That's credit to University of Pretoria that you are not aware of. Some of those kids, it's almost like they're doing grade 12, and they are starting their PhD, and they look so young. I said, are you not supposed to be at high school? And I come from Limpopo. I wasn't aware that Limpopo, there's research going on. I told them. I told Professor Mampuru and what, I said, for me, the health sciences in your university is asleep. I thought it's the entire university. And I was so amazed. So this thing that you have done, Professor Dlamini, is the greatest investment for the entire continent, for this country. And I hope we're going to start collaborating, and you are in the right track, University of Pretoria. Let's stop the competition. Let's stop, this government, us, vets, and whatever. If we work together, the world ranking in terms of a prestigious university will come naturally. We don't have to, this competition where we have got a lot of volume. We're actually here in a province where you drive 50 kilometers, you have got more than 50 hospitals. If you want to study any cancer, we have got data. In 6 months, we'll be finished. But because we are competing among ourselves, it's a disease that as people in Africa, in South Africa, perhaps this is the day that marks the death of that competition. That let's collaborate. Thank you very much.
Absolutely amazing, Professor Luvengo. You remind me of a saying, there's too much space at the top. So as we all go upwards, let's just remember that there's no need to compete because the space is too much at the top. So we are going to be doing a leg stretch for the next 10 minutes, and we trust that you'll be able to stick to time. If you're okay with that, please do come back for dessert. And to the Joburg people and the Limpopo people, I appeal, please don't leave. We've got amazing things that are happening just after the break. This is just to make sure that the blood circulates so that we don't get vasculopathic thrombotic processes happening as we sit for too long. So strictly 8 minutes, and then I'm going to ask the DJ to play a nice song. It will be a cue for us to come back and to take our seats. Thank you very much. Enjoy your break. So the first song was to call out all the geriatrics, the elderly in our midst. This next song is to call in all the young people to come inside so that we can proceed. If you could just come from the outside, those who are still outside, can you please make your way in? We're about to start. We're doing the last session. Thank you very much.
Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our next session. This is our last session for the evening, and the best is yet to come. I'm going to be calling upon Mr. Paolo Ronga, who is an architect from Mediplan and Health Planners. And he will be giving us a short talk on the Pakri laboratories. And after that, there will be a video that will be playing. Welcome on stage, Mr. Ronga.
Don't worry, it's fine. Good evening, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Paolo Ronga, and I will be presenting the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute facility. Don't mind, can we run the video while I chat? Because I'm not really referring to it, it's just going to be something running in the background. I'm from a company called Mediplan Design. We're an architectural firm that specializes in medical facilities. We are currently busy with, as many of you know, the Inaugural building that is being built at Steve Biko Academic Hospital with Prof. Mark Satek, who I understand is presenting tomorrow. But I'm here to talk more importantly about the PACRI facility. The video being presented on screen shows the progress of the construction of the building, which started in February 2022 and was completed in December of the same year. It was a collaborative effort between the professional team, the contractor, and the University of Pretoria, and we're very thankful for them. At the beginning of 2022, Mediplan Design was honored to be awarded the University of Pretoria's PACRI project. Several locations were investigated to house the PACRI facility, but in the end, it was decided to construct the new building above the existing animal stables, building 4404 on the Prince campus. It was during this time of confirming the design brief that I met with Prof. Dlamini for the first time, and within the first few minutes of our conversation, it was very apparent that the passion that Prof had for this project, and it did not take long for me to match that passion for the project. We met several times thereafter in coffee shops. Unfortunately, we couldn't meet at her office because her office was filled with the equipment that needed to be housed inside the building that hadn't been designed nor constructed yet. With a blank canvas, the design of the PACRI building was to be accommodated on the first floor of the PACRI One Health building. This position allowed for the PACRI facility an unobscured view of the city skyline and a lot of natural light to flow in. The building was designed to accommodate mostly postgrad students, but also as well as visiting professors. As you arrive at the building on the ground floor, you enter through a double volume atrium and are directed to the first floor. On the first floor of the PACRI facility, through the doors of the reception, the two offices next to the reception accommodate the director of the facility, Prof. Dlamini, and a shared office for visiting professors. The following space is a hot seat area that allows for approximately 20 students to perform their research preparations before entering into the 130 square meter general laboratory. Adjacent to the general lab is a freezer room accommodating minus 80-degree freezers, as well as hopefully a SAM HD system. Progressing further into the facility, you get a more specialized laboratories, namely the microscope lab, 2 tissue culture laboratories, a tissue faxing imaging laboratory, a next-gen sequencing laboratory, fume hood laboratory, a walk-in cold room, and a laboratory manager's office. Hopefully these labs will be filled, as mentioned earlier, quite soon, with equipment that is much needed. The exterior of the building is clad with aluminium geometric screens to assist with the solar shielding, but also to provide a colorful addition to the extremely clinical building. Its close proximity to the pathology building allows for the close collaboration between clinical departments, but also in its solitude as a beacon of research excellence. Mediplan Design is extremely proud and grateful to be associated with the state-of-the-art facility, and we are positive that the PACRI facility will be at the forefront of the cancer research. Thank you very, very much. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, sir. We are going to be acknowledging certain individuals, and I'd like to call upon Professor Tulani Makhalanyane and Professor Mansaye Diyale, if she's in our midst, and they are going to be handing over awards for this evening.
So good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm delighted to present this evening's awards. As humans, it's always good to receive some sort of acknowledgement for what we do. If anything, it helps reinforce the fact that we're on the right track. For students, this recognition is important and hopefully serves as some motivation to complete the rest of their studies or to pursue their next academic endeavors. So I'll start by introducing the poster prize winners. I'm not sure if it's in any particular order. Okay, so I'll start from the first prize, I guess. The first prize winner is from the University of Pretoria, and I'm pretty sure there must have been auditors looking at all of this. The winner is Dr. Michelle McCarb. Congratulations. The second prize winner is Miss Mandisa Mbeje from the University of Pretoria. And the third prize winner is Carlo Berini from the University of Witwatersrand. All right, and that was all for the oral talks. So I'm also delighted to hand out prizes for the best talks. Also in order? Okay, in no particular order, just random prizes. The first one goes to Dr. Komotso Popedi from the University of Limpopo. In no particular order, it's just the first one. Okay, the next one goes to Dr. Tulo Molefe from the University of Pretoria. Like I said, I'm sure there are auditors that have looked at all of this. The next prize goes to Langamanu Mbodi from Witwatersrand University. Okay, I'm not sure if they're here. Okay. All right, and then the last prize for the night goes to Dr. Shakil Keda from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. All right, I think we can have one last round of applause for all the winners. Then I'm done. Cool.
I'd like to ask the room to be a bit quiet for this one because this is a heavy one. Do I have your attention? Thank you. We are going to be honoring what I call an unsung hero, and this is a message that is coming from the Pakrinian family. I've been tasked to do this, and it is an honor to be acknowledging and appreciating this individual. We just want to appreciate and thank this individual for patiently and consistently casting a vision until the US, the Germany, the Brazilians could not ignore her anymore. Thank you for championing this cause of the cancer research. Thank you for being a mouthpiece, for being hands and feet for the underprivileged. We do understand that certain visions, they attract storms. Thank you for weathering the unseen storms so that the underprivileged could have an advantage to access their therapy to cancer. Thank you for fighting the unseen battles so that this dream of Pakrinian could be a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all stand and acknowledge and appreciate as I call forth this giant from Emahlabathini, Professor Zodwa Dlamini. If you could come to the front, the Pakrinians have got something for her. Those who can ululate, Umuga Zukikiza, can you please Zukikize? Let's give her a huge round of applause as she comes to the front to receive her gifts from the Pakrinian family. Thank you very much. This was a complete surprise for her, and thank you for making this moment big. We are marking the moment because I believe that history is being made in this room. Thank you very much, Professor Zodwa. And we are going to be having our final speaker for the night, and I'd like Dr. Molefe to come and introduce him.
You are not the final speaker. All right. Dr. Richard Kanyile is my HOD, Direct Line Manager, and Head of the Department of Medical Oncology at University of Pretoria and Steve Biko Academic Hospital. Should you please come up on stage, give us a few words.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think all speakers have said everything that needs to be said, and mine is to summarize and say it in one word. And one word is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. The times of being in silos and produce small data is gone. If this meeting has taught me anything, it has taught me to know that down the road, across the Yaski River, there is Wits University, there is a lab that is active, and I've known it for the first time today. And yet I've been in South Africa all my life. And it has taught me down up the N1, going to Limpopo, there is a lab, and people are working on something I've been doing all my life, and it's the first time I hear about it today. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Thank you very much, ladies.
A man of few words, but pertinent, important words. Then our last speaker for the evening will be Prof. Mishak Bida from the University of Pretoria, the head of the NHLS Department of Anatomical Pathology. And he'll be giving us a vote of thanks on behalf of the Management Committee of PACRI.
Professor Dlamini, the international guests, and the fellow Pacrinians. This is a momentous occasion indeed. My task is to extend a vote of thanks to all parties involved in the project. And I would like to thank Professor Cooper for being supportive for this project. And also thank Professor Dlamini for being the visionary in this project. Her leadership. She has been very steadfast in working this project through until it came to fruition. What started off as a vision, we are seeing it unfolding in front of our eyes. And PACRI is very unique in more than one way. Every speaker after speaker has raised that point. It is one that bridges the gap of oceans, the separations of oceans. It bridges divisions of institutions. It's very multi-institutional, something that is virtually unknown in this country. You did any research at VETS, it remains at VETS. Research in Pretoria, it remains in Pretoria. But it has actually bridged the gaps that separate us by institutions. It also bridges the gap that separates us in our area of practice. Clinicians work cooperatively with laboratory practitioners, medical scientists, all under one roof, and exchanging ideas that are going to tap into the big problem of cancer in this country. This is a unique institute that, in fact, we're planting a seed of something very big, and we are going to witness great things from this institute. To our international guests, we really want to thank you for your kindness of wanting to extend a hand of fellowship, a hand of assistance, and we look forward for long-lasting networks of collaboration. We look forward for long partnerships, long-term partnerships, and we really embrace your presence this evening. That this is going to be a start of even serious collaboration until we break through this shell of cancer that has become the plague of society. Now, for our industry partners, we really look forward for assisting us in building capacity. As you know, laboratory processes require serious infrastructure, and we're looking forward for much more partnerships with you, and so that we can actually, you help us to set up the stage, the operational platforms of all the tests that we're gonna have to do. To my fellow Pacrinians, I really want to thank you for participating in this project Let us embrace this moment. Let us embrace the opportunities which have opened before us, because this is the beginning of a great thing. We're doing this not only for ourselves, we are laying a seed for generations to come. We are going to see more medical scientists come out, more PhDs come out, more research come out. In fact, we're planting a new mindset. I want to borrow a leaf from Professor Lubengo, that I come from the generation where research was something remote. You did it if you had some time to do it. Unfortunately, most universities have allowed that to thrive, and we're now beginning to experience a change in mindset to make research a lifestyle. In fact, research must be a daily thing, whatever your practice is. I work in the lab with a lot of cases that I look in a glass light. Now I'm beginning to imagine potential that we can do because of the mindset change. And also, if you're in a clinical platform, the same thing applies. Everybody else is actually a researcher because you are looking at material anyway. So this is the beginning of huge things. I want to thank you, one, and thank you all for this, to make it a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bida. I just wanted to, Professor Lubengo came and spoke and said amazing things. And one thing that he said that is slightly inaccurate that I want to address respectfully as a pathologist. He said the surgeons, they make a diagnosis. I just want to say that in the name of the pathologist, we are the ones who make the diagnosis, and we give a direction to the surgeon whether the lesion is benign or malignant or inflammatory. Should he worry or should he not worry? Is the patient going to die or is he going to live? So this is the girl, and Professor Peter was here. We are the people who make the diagnosis. So I thought that should be just cleared out for this evening. Thank you very much. Multidisciplinary. So we are about to wrap up, and we're having some exciting, we're having light moments, and so we have something else that is a bit of a surprise, and this one is coming from Professor Zodwa to certain individuals, and I've recently discovered that there are 3 levels of vision buying in. So if you're a vision caster, you have to check in your list where are your people at. So there are people who just want to buy into the vision because of what they will get from the vision. And some of us are here for the food, or some of us are here for fun. But then there's a second level of vision buying in of people who just casually and are partly into the vision. They do it when it's convenient, as and when. And then there's a third level of vision buying in, the people who give their lives into a cause and who charter somebody else's vision, and they see it, and they become hands and feet, and they become vision casters of that particular vision. And these are the individuals that Professor Zoda would like to acknowledge and appreciate, and I am sure that we have seen that happening in their lives because they don't have working hours. They call, they answer their phones anytime. And she's blushing. Thank you so much, Demi. Thank you so much, Demi. The next one up is Dr. Marima Rahava. She apparently recently received the NRF award in spite of all the storms that she's been fighting. So we want to just appreciate and acknowledge her for that, if she's in the room. Thank you. I love the culture of generosity in this house. I'm going to call up on stage my co-host, Dr. Mulefe. As we get to the end of this great evening, we want to just appreciate you for being an amazing audience and for giving us your ears and for bearing with our shortfalls and mistakes and everything else that happened in between. And we want to say that thank you very much for being part of this amazing evening. And do have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you next year again in Cape Town.
No, thank you. No. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. It's been quite a splendid evening. And just as a closing remark, whoever keeps on putting my name as the program director, could we please not do it next time? But in any case, it's been fun. Thank you all for coming tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening.